Hello, my name is Chris from Obsolete Performance, and to my right is my 1989 Ford Festiva L that was built for the US market, and on my left is my 1992 Ford Festiva GTA for the Japanese market. As you can see, these cars are very different from each other. So in this video, I'm going to describe all the differences between these two cars and what this one got versus this one. Spoiler alert, the US market got the shaft on these cars when they were brought here. So let's get started. So the Ford Festiva is a vehicle birthed by the union of three different companies: Mazda, Kia, and Ford. So as far as we know, Kia built all the left-hand drive cars, while Mazda built all the right-hand drive cars. Ford only put their badges on the cars. They only put a badge on the grille, and they put a badge in the steering wheel and the rear of it. The US cars did get some options based off of their trim level. So there was L, L+, GL, LX, and Sport. Sport was a 93 only. And it changed little things like the door panel, you got a tachometer, some had automatic transmissions, stuff like that. Very basic changes. They changed until 89, all of them were carbureted, and 89, only the autos were fuel injected. After 90, all of the US cars were fuel injected. So there was a change in fueling system. The Japanese market had a lot more interesting variants. So they have variants to the tune of a 1.1 liter cargo van with solid rear windows. They had a sedan, they had a canvas top, and this is what is considered the top trim model in Japan, the Festiva GTA. So in terms of Festivas, this is considered the holy grail car. This car was built off of another Japanese-only offering, the Festiva GT. What they did is Autorama from Mazda took Festiva GTs off of the factory line and built a custom front and rear fiberglass body for it. Only 300 of these cars were built for 90, 91, and 92. And we don't know how many are left. We can confirm that one has been scrapped because the hood is on Yahoo Auction Japan right now. There is one that is for sale in Japan currently, a very low mileage red and white one. One other person in the US owns a red one. Ben, I'll post a picture of the car right now. And this one. So now we're just going to walk around both of these cars and just kind of show just how different these cars are. They are totally in two different classes. So one of the main difference between these cars is in the US market, we only got one engine. We got the B3 single overhead cam, made around 53 horsepower. In Japan, in the GT, the GTXs, and the GTA, they got a bespoke 1.3 liter dual overhead cam engine. This engine is based very closely to the Mercury Capri from 91 to 94, the Mazda Miata, but it's a 1.3 instead of a 1.6. With this one, it's kind of weird. So normally from Japanese cars, the booster will always be where the steering wheel is. The steering wheel is on the right side because it's Japanese. On this car, as you can see, it's over here, and they built this big assembly that goes across. The reason why they did that is because this car was never supposed to have a dual overhead cam in it, and they had to move it over here. It's very weird. It's a huge mechanism, weighs a lot, it's all steel, so wish I would have been able to figure something else out, but I mean, you don't have much room over here, so they weren't going to be able to do anything. So the body kit, as you can see, the front end is entirely different on this. The body kit is all bespoke to this car. It's made by Autorama for this particular vehicle. And the kind of coolest thing about it is the fact that they changed the rear. The front end is wildly different, but the rear end is also very different. So as you can see on this one, the license plate is in the hatch. This it is not. It is in the bumper. They changed the hatch. The whole hatch is made out of fiberglass. So as you can hear, this is all fiberglass, bumper's all fiberglass, and they put the plate in the center of the bumper. So in the US, in the GL, the LX models, I think it was an option, the wheels were all 12s, and we did get a version of these wheels. So, however, in Japan, these are 13s. They never got 12s. So they look exactly the same as the 12s that we got in the US, but they are 13s instead. Another kind of interesting thing about this is you can't really tell from the camera, but you can see that looks to be about a half a degree of positive camber. So in the US, we got 0 camber in the rear and positive camber in the front. In Japan, on the GTs, GTXs, and GTAs, there's actually negative camber in the front and the rear. They did that for handling. A little known thing on these cars is if you add camber on these, they handle extremely well. There's a theory that they did that on purpose for the US market because they didn't want to handle better than the Escort GT. That's just a theory. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It could have just been because they wanted a very cheap car. So the suspension on these are wildly different as well. So in the front sway bar on this is much thicker than a regular Festiva. The rear end has a sway bar. This does not have a sway bar. One of the coolest things it has is if you see on here, there's these covers that go over the struts. So the GTs, the GTXs, and the GTAs had electronically controlled suspension. You could put it from soft to hard. Sadly, on this car, the rear suspension's blown. So it's just gonna get standard struts, but a very cool feature nonetheless, especially on a car of this type. I mean, it's kind of a cheaper vehicle to have that. So we're gonna move on to the interior now. So one of the big things on Japanese and US Japanese cars are any right-hand drive. So they also made these as a Mazda 121 in Europe. They never sold the Mazda 121 in Japan. So one of the big things is you'll see here, the color of this door panel is dark gray. That is Japanese only, and possibly the Mazda 121 got it. In the US, we only got light gray or tan. In Japan, they also got a dark brown. I don't think it matches the same tan that we got. It seemed more dark brown than tan. In Japan, they got a dash cooler, so you can see here, and sorry, if you look in there, there is a bunch of parts for a lid. It's because the lid exploded because it was very fragile. But there's a vent right there, and what that's made to do is you're supposed to put drinks in it to cool drinks. Pretty cool feature. I wish that the US got them. I think that maybe the Kia Pride in Europe got it, or in Germany got it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So this car came with an aftermarket steering wheel. It's a Momo steering wheel. However, in Japan, they did come factory with a Momo steering wheel. It's a little different. It had a cover over it, just like the AutoZam Unos Roadster, or the Unos Roadsters and all that. And you could take it off and it's the standard Momo underneath it. Another kind of weird thing that I noticed on this is you see there's a little ridge right here that goes across. So over here it's missing. There is no ridge. And I'm assuming that just maybe the mold was different for Kia, or they just took it out to simplify the mold. Not 100% sure on that one. So these seats, we never got these seats in the US. As you can see, they have a kind of sporty headrest. Also kind of a cool pattern. It looks like CRT static. Very comfortable versus the base model L seats with no adjustable headrest. And they're kind of built like a semi-padded beach chair. That's the only way I could really describe them. They're not very comfortable. They're seats, they're adequate seats though. Kind of a random piece, but you can see there, the door pull is entirely different. Little things that they change in this car. Not sure why they changed that. Not sure why they would go through the effort to do that, but they did. On the GTA here, so in the US we did get tachometers. They got them in the LX. They were an option in the L Plus. I've had an L Plus with a tachometer, but on the GTA, as you can see there, it revs to 7,500 RPM. So the red line is 7,500 RPM. In the US, the red line was 6,500 if I recall. I have a tachometer laying around, but I haven't really looked at it in a while. And also in the US, obviously, there's a catalytic converter light. There is no catalytic converter light in the US. We didn't care if our catalytic converters got hot. In the US, we never got a trunk pull right here. So I'm gonna pull this here. Nope, wrong one. That was the fuel door. I don't think we got a fuel door either. I think you just had to use the key. So you have to do that. There is no like latch on the fiberglass trunk. So a little weird. So, this car did not originally come with a cargo cover. I added that. There's actually a few things I've added to this car. So these are obviously not factory wheels. These are Zona Spoke 9s from Japan. The mirrors, this only had a driver's side mirror. So I put these mirrors on it. These are JDM mirrors. Kind of a weird thing that they change is on this, the cargo cover doesn't have, the cargo covers are the lights built into the hatch versus the cargo cover. The reason for that is because in Japan, a third brake light is not mandatory. Also, this third brake light is an option. So if you look, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see here. I'll get a different video of it, but you can see there's little dots. So this has a light built into it to where you flip a switch when you have the lights on. And you flip a switch where the light either says two things in Japanese. It says either please go ahead, which means pass me, go ahead and pass me, or thank you. And a thank you is if you pass them. They would you could say, oh, thank you for letting me pass while you're in the car. I think that's about it for differences on this car. Yeah, the taillights are basically the same, although they faded differently. It's kind of interesting. These are very chocolatey versus these. Let me see if we had a gas. Did we have a, no. So in the US, we didn't even have a gas tool. I just realized, I've always used the key, so I just recently realized that. So I think that's about it for differences. We did get factory rear split seats, but I don't know if it was 50-50. I'd have to ask and see, but I've never owned a Festiva with a factory split rear seat. I think that's it. Oh, there's one other thing. So the transmission. So this is an automatic. I do have a 5-speed put in it, which will be in another video, but the 5-speed in this is different. So they either made the ratios closer, but I think that what they probably actually did was change the differential to make them a little bit closer all together. So they did change the transmission a little bit. Probably gonna make it kind of bad on the highway, but c'est la vie. That's what you get when you get the sporty version of a car. This also came with a rear wiper. This one does not have a rear wiper, it only has rear defrost. In the US, they were optioned with rear wipers, so just this one doesn't have it. I've had a couple of cars with the rear wipers. I prefer just the defrost. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. It's going to be very interesting to build out both of these cars. Well, I'm not going to build this one. I want to just fix it and keep it. But it's going to be interesting to compare these two after I've done everything I want to do on this one versus a stock GTA. So what's the plan for both of these cars? Well, the GTA is just going to be get it running, get it fixed, and just drive it. So there's a couple of little issues with this car. It needs a water pump. The water pump is leaking. The radiator cap doesn't allow pressure to go by it. So I bought a radiator cap, I bought a water pump, and the biggest thing is the fact that the rear suspension is blown on this. So I bought stock KYBs to throw in it. Sadly, they're not electronically controlled as compared to the factory ones, but I'll deal with it. I'm gonna pull these struts and see if they can be rebuilt. Apparently they were built by a company called Showa, which makes suspension for motorcycles. So I'm gonna see if they can be rebuilt, but I'm not really holding my breath on that. The other thing I'm going to do is these wheels, these Zona Spoke 9s, I'm gonna put them on this car. The reason why is the tires on this are good, but they are not DOT approved. So if I go through inspection with these tires on it, they're gonna fail me because they are not DOT approved. They would be fine in the US market, but they never went through the trouble of DOT, getting them tested for DOT. So I'm just gonna throw these tires on it because these tires are almost brand new. I got like 50 miles on them. So I'm just gonna toss them on it so I can pass inspection on that. The silver car is a little bit more of a work in progress. So I have coilovers for this that I'm going to be putting on. I have I'm gonna pull the engine out, re-gasket the whole engine because it's leaking oil from basically every seal right now. This car sat for a long time. It only has 49,000 miles on it, but it sat, and then I decided to drive it 30 minutes and it started leaking oil everywhere. So I'm just gonna build this as a nice, fun driving car. There is a little bit of rust I need to repair on this car, so I'm gonna make videos on that. Gonna pull all the interior out of it, clean the interior to immaculate condition, going to take the engine out, clean the engine bay, clean the engine. I'm gonna do a 5-speed swap, and I have a 5-speed swap in my barn with pedals and everything I need to do. I just spent probably $750 on parts for this car and this car to kind of get them to where they need to be. So if you like kind of quirky, fun vehicles, nothing like a high dollar, I'm not really into the high dollar budget builds, but if you like any type of quirky builds, definitely subscribe to this channel because I will be making videos on everything I do on this car and everything I do on this car. This car will probably be a lot less videos because I'm just doing maintenance parts on it. I do also plan on autocrossing this car at some point because I think that would be fun. So if you want to see those videos, definitely subscribe and you'll get the notification when I post up a video. So with that, I'm Chris from Obsolete Performance. Stay safe out there and have fun.